go about this the right way and we create a better storyline for the use of AI, it can be very free. Because here we have a young lady who's tired of working. A lot of people are afraid of AI. They're afraid of AI replacing this job, but they're also tired of working. So which one do we want? Do we want to have a job to complain about? Or do we actually want to free up our lives and have robots actually do robotic things and have humans do things that expand us, that evolve us, that allow us to tap into love, for us to practice self-awareness, for us to do the things that just don't come easy because we are stressed out about survival.
You are scaring me.
Yo, it's been a day. It has been a day, and I'm here recording this YouTube video because I want to. I like talking. And of course, I must enjoy myself because I am not talking to anyone. I'm talking to a camera, but here I am on YouTube because this is Dear Creator. This is my rejection therapy experience, my exposure therapy experience, where I am sharing all of my thoughts with you all about the content that I'm consuming. And this particular video is about my personal feed, some content that came through my feed that highlighted some thoughts I had about AI, about the human experience when it comes to money, and also just about the exhaustion of trying to keep up with all of the different changes in the world. So as I go through some of those videos, I'm inviting you all to pick 1 or 2 or 3 questions to consider in your own life. Because of their creative experience with me, Danny Daniela, I am Danny Daniela, it's about us, 1, investigating our belief systems, 2, forming those quality questions, and 3, putting a mirror up to ourselves. So when we are consuming content, why does that make us upset? Why did it make us happy? Why are we inspired? What do we want to do with it? What is the growth that's going to come through here? Because as I consume content, I am matching this to my goal of being less like a child and to think more like an adult. I think I said that wrong. Today, we are going to go through AI. Layoffs. How do you guys feel about layoffs? I was thinking about layoffs, and layoffs are happening. Layoffs are happening around me. People are saying layoffs are because they're replacing people with robots. And at one point, when the layoffs started, I thought, layoffs, they're happening. But then they started to get closer and closer and closer. And I thought, oh, maybe I should be nervous. What am I going to do? What is my plan if I get laid off? I know that I have things in place, but are they going to be substantial? And I could feel myself fearing layoffs. And then it just kept getting closer and closer and closer to the point where I thought I cannot do anything about it. I had to come to an understanding that it might happen and that my source does not come from the job itself. It doesn't come from any of these things. It really comes from my belief systems. Like, what do I believe is going to happen? What do I want to happen? It also made me think about my journey in the car today. I was riding the car and I thought, man, I'm not on a horse. I am not on a horse. But at one point in time, people were riding on horses and they did not think of a car or a plane. They didn't even think that could exist. We're living in a space and time right now where we don't know what's going to happen with AI. Some of us may know. Some of us are clueless and are still trying to figure it out. When I think about all of the jobs and the layoffs, it's, for some corporations, an exciting thing because they can save money. They don't have to worry about the whiny humans. And for others, it's just like, I don't know what to do with this because there's so much happening in the economy and there's so much happening with AI. How do we set ourselves up for success? And sometimes when a corporation or a business is setting themselves up for success, it doesn't really matter what lives are behind the humans that have put work into their organization or their company. And that could feel very heartless, but it is an exchange where we do something for you, we put this together, and now we're able to provide you with income, but you cannot lean on us for your primary source of income. And this is what we do. We have gotten into a system where we're leaning on someone else to be our primary source of income. And that's going to be dangerous because we never know what's going to happen. We live in a different world, and it seems scary, but what if it's supposed to be exciting? What if all of our complaints about, hey, I hate working my job, or I don't get to live life, I don't get to go on vacations, I have to request off of all of those things. What if you can really move into a space where the technology can replace all of this mundane work, the type of work that makes you angry at the checkout or whichever job you're at, that makes you irritated with people, or where you have to show up when you feel down that day, but you have to show up and put a smile? What if all of that is avoided? Because now we have all of this space and time to live life. So in the back of our minds, we're thinking, well, how could that really exist? Because we need money. Money, 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 money. So this is a journey I want to take you all through, where I keep getting back to the keyword money, money, money. Money is really the core reason we are afraid, because we put a lot of our power in money itself instead of how we use that money or where that money even comes from. And sometimes that money is created in a space where it's, what would be the right word? It's created in these spaces where it is like blood money. It's stripping people of their soul type of money. It's heartless care money. But we're trying to use money, have money answer all things, but in a way where it's sourcing the environment. It's giving people life. It's edifying. It's freeing up people. Free people that free people. You know that concept of hurt people hurt people? I'm wearing my last video. Check out my last video. But I'm creating these shirts for messages that are really simple. Free people, free people. So how do we get in a position to be free ourselves so that it's easy for us to free people? Freeing up our mindset, right? All those thoughts that work against us and the people around us. How do we get there? So this is all a practice. I don't claim to be anything but someone who's curious. But my practice here is, hey, let's look at this content and let's figure out what type of answers come from it. Let's figure out why we respond the way that we do, or what are some thoughts that we can generate, because sometimes we might blindly consume content and don't take anything from it. So I'm going to start on this journey now. I want to play a few videos. I want to put a question on the screen. I'm going to talk about it a little bit, but think about keywords. As you go through any of these videos, I like to take my notes. Bam. Think about some keywords that come out or stick out when you're watching the videos. Write those down and then make a note on why you think those keywords stand out.
I'm tired. Are y'all tired? Because I'm tired of the system that America has created to keep us going, buying. And it's never enough at work. It's like, do this so you can get this rating. It's never enough. You go out here and try to date, try to be a good person in the world. People don't appreciate that. It's never enough. Bills come back to back. You just paid them, they're coming again. It's never enough. Like, I am so fed up with this system that America has just locked us in, that we are not experiencing life. Like, it's so much life out there, so much going on that we have not experienced because we live here. And I'm tired of feeling like this. Like, I want to get up every day, enjoy the day for me, do whatever I please, and enjoy the day. And it's just like, it'll never happen. I get 2 days out of the week to have for myself. Like, I'm tired.
It's so interesting how content comes my way, because we all know that the phones are listening to us. But I didn't feel exhausted to the point where I was expressing it, but I could feel it. I could feel everything that she was saying, because as these changes happen with layoffs and reorgs and the businesses, you start to get a different workload, because now as they transition and trying to figure out where AI is going to fit, they need you to train their systems so that they can get rid of you. That's the theory. And that could feel like, in the midst of all these things, how do I really navigate? How do I navigate where I'm in the middle of the system, I'm trying to survive it, but if I rip myself out of the system, I'm not going to have a place to live. So it seems like we're trying to correct the system because we're all feeling this. We're having conversation. This is where I want to step in and invite you all in. Is we might not have these conversations because we really didn't have time to have these conversations. And maybe that's why AI could be a tool and not a threat. Because if we go about this the right way and we create a better storyline for the use of AI, it can be very free. Because here we have a young lady who's tired of working. A lot of people are afraid of AI. They're afraid of AI replacing this job, but they're also tired of working. So which one do we want? Do we want to have a job to complain about? Or do we actually want to free up our lives and have robots actually do robotic things and have humans do things that expand us, that evolve us, that allow us to tap into love, for us to practice self-awareness, for us to do the things that just don't come easy because we are stressed out about survival. I don't know. It's just a conversation starter, y'all. Let's go into this next video.
Babes, if the system could work us 24 hours of the day, it would. Once I understood this, I stopped putting so much pressure on myself to hustle in this culture. Like, oh, I got to make it big. I got to get 1 million before 30. I don't give a as long as I have people around me that love me and I can make some type of income, I'm not worried about climbing the corporate ladder. 90% of the job is you documenting what you did because they're going to try to discredit you sometime in the future. 90% of the job is trying to learn how to outsmart and outwit other people. 90% of the job is you trying to play and fake a role in their made up reality. Like, that's draining. And I was watching a video by Justin Scott, and he was basically saying, not verbatim, but he was basically saying, you're not lazy. You live in a society that only values you for what you can produce. You're not lazy. You live in a society that does not respect your body, that does not respect your need for rest. Like, there's no reason why we should be spending 8 to 10 hours working and then only have like 4 or 6 hours to really like recoup and spend time with our families and eat and just be on our own timing. There's no reason for that. There's no reason why we should be working 5 or 6 days out of the week and only have 1 to 2 days to rest. For a lot of people, their whole weekend is spent resting, sleeping, trying to catch up on the mental depletion that's been happening to them all week. Like, and don't let it be a physical labor job also. It does not make sense, and it's not meant to make sense. It's meant to make profit. So don't ever feel bad for being lazy or feeling lazy. Don't ever feel bad for being fired when you were doing the best you could. Don't ever feel bad about yourself for needing to respect and treat your body like it matters. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, girl. I know what you mean. Yo, some keywords here. Draining. And she mentioned draining, and she mentioned a Justin Scott video. I'm going to find that video and maybe put a screenshot. I am so excited to be able to talk to Justin Scott because he has so much content that speaks to the same ideas I wish I could communicate as well as he. But Justin Scott does talk a lot about this idea of our bodies and our nervous systems and what it means to navigate through this earth in trying to regulate our nervous system. Because when we think about trying to survive America, it looks different than it did when we were supposedly running from animals to survive. Now it's a system that doesn't seem like it's a threat, but then it becomes a threat because the way that our mind or our relationship with the system is operating. So think about it this way. We are trying to make sure that we have money so that we can live and so that we can eat and take care of our families. And some of us may feel like I want to relax. I need a break. And it's almost as if that's not something that's smiled upon. I wanted to say frowned upon, but that doesn't make sense. But it's not something that is encouraged because you got to keep working. And it's like, when do I see the fruits of my labor? When do I see the fruits of my labor? It's like, well, this is what you have to do. You have to be disciplined. And then it's like, well, where do I learn those skills for some? It's something where you just got to figure it out. You just got to find out how to be disciplined. You just need to know these things. And it's like, okay, but I also have to survive America. So I got to go here first for my survival. And I don't have enough time to learn. So when we talk about AI again, when we have time to learn and to think these things through, won't it be beneficial for all of us? Won't it be beneficial if we can actually just take this time, figure out a new system so that we can know what we need to do? I was thinking about the garden that I have outside now because I'm so into gardening, y'all. So into gardening that I'm an ambassador for Garden, a system that is an indoor garden system. I'm going to put a QR code up on the screen if you're interested in learning how to grow fruits and vegetables inside your home. But I was learning about gardening because I wanted to match the system itself, which is for me a transition system, because to go out and to plant in the soil and to have the natural sunlight and the water, that is the goal, to be able to grow and own your own consumption, be your own creator. And I'm growing the fruits and vegetables outside, and I'm starting to research and look into things. And I realized that those videos I kept seeing when they were cutting off like the root and then regrowing it became so refreshing to me, because this idea of like, all I gotta do is plant this seed and just depend on nature to support me and just do my part, come water it. It doesn't have to take everything out of me. I just make sure that I just plant the seed and I start growing it and I start watering it and I put it in an environment where it can grow. I think about ourselves, like if we put ourselves in the right environment where we can receive the sunlight, we can receive the love, we can receive the water, and we can treat our bodies right. If we're not in a toxic environment, how much can we grow? How easy will growth be? And it seems like we're trying to grow and we're trying to do our best, but we're doing it in an environment that just wants to keep ripping out the root. But what was so beautiful about this idea of growing is that you can regrow and regrow and regrow, but it's easy. It's not draining from you. It's like just cut it and you have some more. Just plant some seeds and you have some more. When I position that next to surviving in the earth and, having to have a job to do so, it's like, you got to be afraid of AI and how they might replace your job. You got to keep positioning yourself to be better than AI. You got to learn AI. You got to do all these things to keep and stay on top. And it's like that first video, her keywords was, it's never enough. But when you put that next to like nature and its processes, it's like, wait, you don't have to do all of these things. You can exist. You can have your nervous system regulated. How do I get there? How do I get there? Let's look at this next video.
These children are being mastered by AI. The more you use it, the more the system learns you, right? And as the system is learning you, they're learning how to clone you so that you're not necessary, because it thinks like you, so why did it need you? Yeah. As we're using the system, we're teaching it how to replace us. This is where we have to become better stewards of the way we utilize the technology. Exactly. We should be taking and putting these models locally on our computer so that data is not going back to these companies, teaching it how to replace us. These AI models that you get access to for free or for fee, they're learning you because they need human beings to train it. So they're training to learn how to replace human population. But now there's not enough people who are mastering AI. So AI is out there, but the people that's going to be the most advanced in the future are the ones that's really learning it to a T. They understand these systems. They have system knowledge. They understand to analyze data. Perplexity, you got DeepSeek, right? You got SoundHound. DeepSeek creates a whole entire profile. You got all of these, but you should be learning. Number one, you can go and create, they got what they call Replit, to where you can automatically create apps on there. It's about you having a mastery of it, because your job processes and skills right now, they're learning you to figure out how to replace you. So what you is trying to do is stay above the tool to learn how to use it. That's right. It's not that it has to replace you, but if you're not updating yourself, because AI goes to what they call the knowledge refresh. If you go use DeepSeek, I think its cutoff date is in like 2023. If you try to use it right now and you ask a question about Donald Trump, it's like Donald Trump ain't president because it's in the past. It's the same thing with people. People don't go through a knowledge refresh, right? So your knowledge cutoff date, last time you learned something, last time you went to school and got a degree. But if I give me an AI model that was cut off in 1995, what good is it? Exactly. It's not trained on a world that is. And that's how human beings are. Their knowledge is cut off and they need a knowledge refresh to be updated in time so they can actually be useful. 19 keys is high level conversation.
Any keywords stand out to you all? Yo, that was a video that drained me. I like 19 keys content. Well, the content I've come across, but this one drained me because there was a moment that he says, you have to master it and stay above it. And he mentioned being useful. And I just thought, like, dang, that's so wild to me. Like, imagining this is so wild to me, to think, like, above AI and try to master it. I understand the interest in the tools. And this is what you'll see on this channel. I'll be looking through different tools, exploring different tools, and investigating these tools. But also, my understanding of these tools is to free my time, not to put more weight on this earth experience for myself. I just want to see what it's like to just be free. I was driving down the street. Again, I don't have to drive a horse. I was in a car, but who knows what's next. I was driving down the street, not on a horse, and I was looking at the people around me, and people were just living their lives, just eating and drinking and being merry. And it's like, I eat, I drink, I'm merry. But like, when can I do that? I've noticed that it seems like always being busy and always having work has been on a pedestal. Like, oh, that person is so busy. But imagine having the choice to just be free, to live, to laugh, to just sit and actually smell the roses or whatever flower, to look at a bird flying and say, oh, to just observe nature, to observe how nature works for us, and that we have everything that we need. It's amazing that we really do have everything that we need. How do we get to the point where we're like, we need more, we need more, we need more, we need more? How do we get to the point where we need so much and we still aren't satisfied? And in that same breath, in that same space, y'all, we don't realize that these advancements in technology has really blinded us from human interaction and mastering that. So he's talking about the mastery of AI and getting above it. But I'm more interested in the mastery of loving our neighbors as ourselves. Like, where is our true source of income from? Why do we fear money or have such an attachment to money that it rules over us, that we know that we're exhausted, but there's nothing that we can do about it because we're in a system that feeds off of the fact that we are fearful? And who should we actually fear? It's all interesting. It's all tied to our belief systems. I probably have a different belief system than you do. But really, investigate, y'all. Investigate. Get into it. Because it's all so interesting. They say that the love of money is the root of all evil, and they will highlight love of money. And when you hear that, depending on your perspective, you're like, you can still have money. It's okay to have money, and that is true. When we emphasize the love of money and we think about what love is, right? So we are now attaching love to a piece of paper instead of it being this interaction with other living beings. It's a piece of paper. And it's so odd, y'all. Why didn't we figure this out? It's so odd that the piece of paper has so much role. Because when we think about AI, we think about our job replacement, it all ties back to our money and the security in money. It doesn't mean that money doesn't answer for all things. It's really how we use our money in our relationship with that money. Mm-hmm. But we haven't really sat down and realized that it's a piece of paper. And when we think about love itself, I'm thinking about, I love love, right? I love having a conversation with someone, listening to their stories, having time to do that. In some spaces, I get the opportunity to do that because I know that about myself, that I can talk, and I can listen to stories all day. And a lot of my work requires that. That's that human interaction. So I appreciate that. But there are other aspects of my life, other aspects of work that I would love to give to a computer to do because it's computer work. And it frees me up to be more present for everyone around me. That's how I look at it. Y'all let me know in the comments. What are your thoughts on this video? Any keywords stand out to y'all? Also interesting. Let's look at this next one.
700 employees have just been laid off and replaced with AI at Klarna. Klarna has just wiped out 10% of its employees. And that's just the beginning. All of these businesses are about to do the same thing because think about it. They don't have to pay healthcare benefits anymore. They don't have to worry about workers' comp insurance. They don't have to worry about all the HR issues that come with having a business and dealing with people. They don't have to worry about people needing lunch breaks. They now have AI that can do it around the clock, and all the money that they're going to make now and save. This is just the beginning.
I really like this video because I really couldn't tell what her position was. Maybe you all know. It could be slightly sarcastic, but when I'm listening to the video, I realized yeah, absolutely. If jobs don't have to worry about your lunch break and how you might be complaining and how you might not be actually giving your all at work, they do benefit from that. But the way that I looked at it was, okay, there's content around here about AI that says that you can actually get a tool and you can have your own solopreneur career using AI. So you know what that means? You're not responsible for other people in their lives. And this is what we don't like about layoffs, right? We don't like that someone has signed up for a job. They got accepted for a job. They said, hey, this is my organization, but I'm willing to pay you. This is the agreement. And because of that, you get to work here. And then the people work there. They gain a relationship with not only the people there, but actually the transaction of getting a paycheck to help them with their lives. So the payoff is I didn't have to start my own business. You already laid the foundation. You started a business. I get to be a part of a business that you built. This is why I had to do the whole application process. So I have to sell myself to you. We get rid of all of that if we have these tools that help us put ourselves in that position to have our own business. And it's up to us to determine if we want to be givers in a way where we're giving people opportunity to work for organization. And what's the responsibility that you want to have as a leader? Do you want to build a foundation or a business where you're like, I really do care about the people that work for me. So I do care that they get benefits because their contribution helps my business grow. Or is it that I want to be greedy and I don't want to deal with anyone? It's like everyone could win. If you feel like you don't care about people and you just want to have your robot and you don't want to be responsible for other people, then you have that choice and you don't put yourself in a position to destroy other people's lives. And I say destroy very lightly because we all understand it's a game. We can't get too attached to it. Something may happen. Something may happen. And it doesn't have to be the worst that you get laid off. It doesn't have to be the worst that you no longer work for someone else. Mm. It's so empowering and it's so inspirational when people actually have moved themselves or got pushed out of certain situations. They cry for a little bit, but it activated something in them and they started to build their own. They learned who the creator was within themselves and they created something and they got more than they did working for the business. But I am the person who understands both relationships. Because someone can build a business, you can work for that person and you can learn skills and you can use it and transfer that time that you use working for someone else and then take that skill into your own. And that could be the cycle. And maybe it is that we stay too long depending on someone. And for the history of things, it was okay to be loyal. But now, if people aren't loyal as businesses, you can't expect these people to have confidence in your business and want to stay. And you give them a false confidence because you know that you need to pull a little bit from them until you're satisfied and then you throw them away. That's what it feels like. And I don't want to use that language because it's really tricky because we know this is a game and we got to play it like a game, which means we have to have fun with it. This is why I had to make this video because I had to have fun with this because as I'm consuming the content, it's like, dang, I'm not fitting to do that. I'm not fitting to do that. I actually liked working. I like doing stuff. I also like talking. I like creating. Like I've noticed that it's easy for me to tap into the things that I like and love. I also noticed that I live in a world where I'm still dependent on everyone else's decisions. But I want to be, again, a lender and not a borrower. So I'm using this journey on YouTube to see like what happens. What happens if I just do what I want to do is just talk about stuff all day. You know, not all day. But talk about stuff that I find are good conversation starters. Get to hear people's stories. What if somebody just clicks on that thank you button a few times a week and I'm good to go? What if people buy my free people shirt or my Joy to the Second Power shirt or my What Are You Watering shirts or my children books? What if it just goes wild and crazy? One thing we have to do is just try it out. And the safe part about this is you can try this out next to these support systems where you can work for a business for some time. But ultimately, we want to be in the position where we are owners of our own thoughts, owners of our own realities, owners of our stories, owners of our businesses. Let's look at this next video.
Pray, bitch. Okay? While the doctors is gonna be praying on your ass and praying on your children and praying on your community, you keep on praying while they are P-R-E-Y-ing on your ass. They have no tools, no weapons, but they talking about no weapon formed against me shall prosper. It won't work. Bitch, they all have worked, ho. Every weapon they formed against your stupid ass has fucking prospered. White supremacy has prospered. Bad school systems have prospered. Fucked up politicians have prospered and got over you every year after year after year. Your job has prospered. The people around you keep fucking you up in the head have prospered. Everything he said he will do, he will end by his word. He will learn. Think about stupid it sounded people. Just singing shit. God damn. Waiting on our Job or what was his name? Boaz. You're waiting on Boaz. And I told y'all need to be looking for a Black Panther. Not Boaz. You waiting on Boaz and all you gonna...
So that was a passionate video. I want to share why I put this video into this segment. Because I think this is how people really feel, especially when it comes to investigating our belief systems. You look out at the world and you're like, what is happening? Like, how do these people prosper? You'll see that a lot in the Bible. If you have an ear to hear, that you'll see these stories in the Bible where it's like, how are those who are doing wicked prospering? How is it that they have all the money? What makes it that these people with the power are the ones doing the things that's so crooked? They don't care about people. How did they get into these positions? Shouldn't it be the people who have the mindfulness, the people that have the kind of hearts, who are disciplined, who have wisdom? Shouldn't they be the ones that have all the money so that they can make wise decisions that contribute to the planet? But anyway, I added this video because no weapon formed against me shall prosper. It's a really, really important verse to lean into. And so that's what I wanted to do, because I would have to agree that it seems like weapons are being formed against us. These weapons seem like they're AI because we see them as threat in some spaces. But what if it's not? What if it's that idea of looking at a picture from two different angles, and one angle being it's for my harm and one being for my good? We have stories like the story of Joseph, where his own brothers sold him to slavery. And what came out of that is this idea that what was meant for evil, God turned around for good. When I think about her video, first of all, she's literally is like upset at people who decide to lean onto these verses, which I think leads into another conversation that we're going to have on this video, because I think it's a lot that comes out of this. But one is, people are grabbing onto these songs or grabbing onto these scriptures or grabbing onto these faith because it does feel like, what else am I supposed to do? It seems like there is a solution here to find a Black Panther or to get some weapons, but really, do we have a blueprint of what that looks like at the end? Some people are leaning onto faith because they actually truly believe and have a different perspective or understanding of what that faith will bring them towards. So we look at a story like Joseph, it might be like, why would you even be in that situation? But at the end, it does work out for his good. So it reminds me of that quote where people are like, did you die though?
I'm okay with not dying.
Did you die? Because if I think about no weapons formed against me shall prosper, like when a weapon prospers, what does that mean? That we got hurt or that you're no longer here? What does it mean when a weapon prospers? Because it feels like that, y'all. It does feel like that in the world where, sometimes I feel like these weapons be prospering. But sometimes I don't. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes the way that a peace will come over me, the way that joy sits in me, the way that wisdom will come in through my ears and I'm receiving it. I wonder, that's what it is. Each day that I gain a closer relationship with God and I communicate with God, the questions that I had, they get refined, they make sense, and I look at life so differently. It doesn't mean that some days I don't feel those weapons seemingly prospering, but my perspective again gets refined. Because when I look back and I lay back, I still have to rationalize, what am I going to do with it? Anger can sit, hate could sit, a lot of things can sit there, and some of it is very credible. It makes sense. But then what am I really going to do with it? What is my ultimate solution? I just think that, I don't know what I was going to say there. Let's forget it. But I think about my solution. my harvest, what happens? But anyway, I think this video is it's animated. My children are walking by and they hear all of the things and they're like, what in the world are you listening to? But it's so many conversations that come from this video because it really does lean into like, when you live in a world like this and then you have a belief system and you believe in God, it can get really tricky because it also makes you feel like you are reorganizing your mind to satisfy your struggle. How do you know that you're not trying to make sense of your struggle because of your faith? And I honestly, from my point of view, feel like there's a different type of peace that comes over you if you have a belief in something true. I don't know what everyone's belief system is. I imagine that it's going to be different than mine. But there's something that feels like everything's going to be all right. Everything has been all right. When I really scan around over my life, no weapon has prospered. No weapon has prospered. So in my case, I would say yes. I would sing that song because no weapon formed against me has prospered. It was formed. It was definitely formed, but it did not prosper. What does it mean when the weapon prospers? When we go back and we navigate through those scriptures about those who are in high positions and they use a framework of wickedness and they use a framework of wickedness, they also crumble. So perhaps there's a crumbling that's going to happen. But I'm just on the internet having conversation starters. This is my favorite video, y'all. This last one is my favorite video because this is really what the solution in the harvest is for me, is getting to a thought like this and then realizing, where do we want to go from here? Let's take a look at this last video.
Have you noticed how you don't own anything anymore? Not your music, not your movies, not the software you need to work. Everything's a subscription now. Adobe, Spotify, Netflix. Hell, some cars are locking your heated seats behind a paywall. It's not because it's expensive to deliver. It's not because the parts are rare. It's because if they let you own the tool, you wouldn't need the company. And that's the point. This isn't about technology. It's about control. Because capitalism isn't evolving with technology. It's trying to strangle it in its crib. Back in the 2010s, Jeremy Rifkin called it the zero marginal cost society, a world where the cost of creating, replicating, and sharing things drops so close to zero that profit itself starts to disintegrate. Think solar panels producing free energy after installation. Think open source software maintained by volunteers. Think 3D printed housing from local soil. These aren't distant hypotheticals. They're the early rumblings of a reality that breaks the price system itself. Rifkin saw it clearly. When the marginal cost of production approaches zero, the entire scaffolding of the profit model buckles. It's not just that selling becomes difficult. It's that the act of selling becomes unnecessary. If the sun powers your home, if your medicine is printed in your kitchen, if your knowledge is boundless and free, then what does the market have left to mediate? What value can it add except friction?
Y'all, this is when I said, I don't know this man. I don't know what book he's talking about. I don't know all the things, but the words are coming together for me in this moment. They're all coming together. When he said those last words, he had to be preaching from his heart. Because hello, the key word here is the sun. And I know he was talking about something different, but I took it a whole different way. I went back to the plants, y'all. Because how beautiful is it that the sun is already existing for us? And what the sun does for us, the vitamin D that comes from the sun is what helps these plants grow, that really provide us with the food. And we think about living in America and we're like, okay, we need somewhere to eat. We need somewhere to sleep. And most of our money nowadays is going towards eating. But look how we have everything that we need. We just plant seeds, y'all. We just plant seeds. That is so exciting. But that's what I heard. I know he said a lot of things, and I'm actually following him. This was so good. Let me keep playing because I'm about to talk.
And yet somehow we're still stuck in a world where access is locked behind paywalls, where movies are deleted from platforms despite already being made, where software you bought yesterday stops working unless you keep feeding it your credit card. Why? Because capitalism requires scarcity. And when nature stops providing it, capitalism manufactures it. Welcome to the age of artificial scarcity, a world where abundance is real, but buried. Buried under licensing agreements, proprietary formats, rent-seeking patents, and subscription walls designed to simulate a constraint that no longer naturally exists. You don't buy the song. You lease the privilege of hearing it. You don't own the farm. You rent the fruit. Which brings us to Buckminster Fuller. Decades before Rifkin, before Silicon Valley, before open source anything, Bucky saw the contradiction. He knew the systems we built were no longer about utility. They were about justification, not making life better, but making life earnable. He called out the absurdity in plain language. We keep inventing jobs because of this false idea that everybody has to be employed at some kind of drudgery.
Yo, I don't know who that man is that he's talking about, but I'm really interested in seeing what this book is about. And I have to make space for this because I'm navigating the earth, just navigating. I don't know all the things. And I know there are different conversations about the types of ideologies. So, capitalism versus all the different ideologies. People have wars and arguments and debates about these things. But if we really take away like the titles and look at the principle of things and look at a concept like jobs and some of the jobs that we have, it does feel like it is feeding something that really doesn't need to be fed. But we do so because we want to make sense of all the things. We need to put people to work. And I actually feel like I fall into this trap, even being raised in that idea, like always, you can't just sit there. You need to be working. You need to be doing something. And I also saw that highlighted in my own world where it's like, you just can't sit there and be happy. You gotta get up and do some work. And it's like, well, where do you stop and enjoy life? Do we really? And it's so interesting that people look at others in a bizarre way when they say, did we just come to Earth just to work and die? It's so interesting that people find that as a bizarre way of looking at life. I can see how people think that a certain generation is lazy and all the things, and that all they want to do is be on TikTok and dance. But why is that so bad? We really can't dance and laugh. We're just really supposed to be like angry and mad all the time. Serious? We cannot come to life and be merry. Can part of our lives be that we do contribute to this earth, that we do help put together systems and all the things, but a big chunk of it is enjoying it, being able to enjoy it. And we might even get tired. I had to put together a list for myself and figure out, okay, let's say I get all this time. Let's say AI just frees up all this time and it works exactly how you want. What are you going to do with your time? Am I going to watch TV all day? Am I going to walk all day? Am I going to talk to people all day? What does it look like when you do free up your time? What do you want to do? Is it partying all night? It's creating things for me, finding new ways to create things, learning instruments that I've been trying to learn. I've only mastered the clarinet, but wow, what if I could master all these other instruments? What if I could really learn how to draw? Creating, it comes from me. It comes down to being able to create things. What about you all? Let me know in the comments. What would you do with free time? Imagine your life in that manner. I remember I was seeing these videos about like homestead or people like choosing to be homeless and all these things. And I came across one video where they were just out. I think they had an RV and they were just out living. Like they were just out living. And I thought like, dang, like they don't have to work. They were able to find like some watermelon or something like that. And they were just eating watermelon. And then they was just chilling. And my head was just like, wow, they just chilling. But like, they don't gotta work. Like what they gonna do with their time? And that's what prompted me to think like, what would I do with my time?
We have inspectors of inspectors and people making instruments for inspectors to inspect inspectors. It wasn't cynicism. It was diagnosis, because Fuller also saw what could come next. He called it ephemeralization, the idea that human systems could do more and more with less and less until eventually you can do everything with nothing. That's not sci-fi. That's what technology is for. That's what it wants to do. Lower input, higher output. Automation, miniaturization, decentralization, clean water from vapor, protein from precision fermentation, shelter printed from dirt and sunlight, knowledge coded into learning environments more adaptive than any classroom. But instead of letting technology liberate us, capitalism reroutes it to deepen dependence. Rather than reducing work, it invents new bullshit jobs to justify wage systems. Rather than reducing cost, it fragments platforms into endless tiers of gated access. Rather than using ephemeralization to dissolve toil, it twists it into new modes of managed addiction, attention cycles, branded necessity, algorithmic need. It doesn't free us. It retools itself to appear essential, even as its logic collapses under the weight of its own contradictions. And this is where Enlightenment socialism steps in. Not as ideology, but as design logic. It doesn't mythologize labor. It doesn't pretend markets are moral arbiters. It recognizes that when production costs vanish and labor becomes optional, profit is no longer an organizing principle. It's an obstruction. This is not a war of values. It's a confrontation between systems. One that thrives on rationing. One that thrives on release. We're standing at a civilizational threshold. On one side is a world still built around the myth of earning a living, a world that pretends dignity must be purchased, that survival must be conditional, that fulfillment must be scarce. On the other is a world that understands what Fuller meant when he said the true business of people should be to go back to school and think about whatever it was they were thinking about before somebody came along and told them they had to earn a living. Because that's the real nightmare for capitalism. Not that things become cheap, but that people become free. Free to explore, free to create, free to become. Not as a reward for labor, but as the default condition of being alive. And that freedom isn't a fantasy. It's physics. It's sunlight hitting a panel. It's food growing without toil. It's knowledge passed peer-to-peer without price. The conditions already exist. They've just been shackled. This isn't utopia. It's engineering. It's rationality catching up to reality. It's the Enlightenment finally finishing what is started. Technology has done its part. It's lowered the cost of survival to nearly nothing. Now it's our turn to build the systems that stop pretending scarcity is sacred, that stop locking abundance behind brand names and biometric toll booths, that refuse to sell what no longer needs to be sold. Profit is dying. And the question now isn't how to revive it, it's how to bury it and build something beautiful in its place. Something that doesn't extract, something that doesn't punish, something that doesn't need us afraid to function. Because buried beneath the rubble of collapsing profit is something.
Wait, did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? Because we are afraid. We're afraid of losing our jobs. We're afraid of losing our incomes. We're afraid of losing our identities. And it shouldn't be that way. when he talked about the barrenness of abundance, it reminds me that the things that we need, they do exist. But somehow we just forgot about it because we cover it up with more and more and more. Going back to that first video, is that it's never enough. But really, we are mirroring that it's never enough. We had enough. Somehow, somewhere. But where did we all get? Where did it all happen? I think that's always a mystery that I want to dig into because we always go through this narrative like we got to do this and we got to do that. And this is how you get better. Or this is how you're supposed to think about your belief system. But like, who started it? If I go back and I say Adam and Eve started it, somebody would also give me a better story there. Like, depending on what angle you look at it. And so one of the most profound conversations I had a couple of weeks ago with Justin Scott, we were able to talk about how there's an illusion. And this is not a new idea, but it's when you hear it again, it makes you rethink. That sometimes what we see is clouded by our experiences, our ideas and belief systems that came from other people. And then whatever truth or beauty that we can see in something, it's all blurry based off of those being tainted. And I just wonder, like, what if all we need to do is clean our mirrors? Right? What if we just clean our mirrors, start looking at what the content that we consume reflects about how we think and feel, and then do something about that? What if it is individual, but it's still collective? I'm one of those people where it's like, I want all the world to be happy, but I don't want that burden. I'm gonna do my part, and I can sit next to you while you do your homework, but I gotta do my homework. And if I don't have to do your homework and I just focus on my homework, won't it be easier for both of us? But we can sit next to each other and we can all help each other with each other. But what happens is we've leaned a lot of our power, or we've given a lot of our power away to just a small group, and it's lopsided. We forgot that we are a whole bunch of people that can have impact and influence in a positive way if we truly believe these things. If we don't like how people are mistreating us, if we feel like the systems are failing us, if we feel like they're screening all these things, then how do we stand up and be something different and reflect that has more power than that small percentage of recklessness?
Eternal, a different kind of value, a different kind of life. And it's been waiting for us to remember. We were never meant to earn the right to live. We were meant to live and then do something with it.
Y'all, when I tell you, I feel like that was a whole sermon. Some of the words that he was using reminded me of like the key words or sentence structure from like a ChatGPT or AI, but it was so well structured. And I could be making that up because I know that ChatGPT uses a lot of the language that humans use. But as I've been working with a lot of AI tools, I start to see patterns. But as I'm listening to this, it's so well put together. It identifies everything that needed it to be identified in my own personal brand and mission. Like, if I could just play this video and twinkle it through a lot of different content, it's going to be the same thing I'm trying to reiterate. I do believe in us finding abundance in this manner. And I know that it feels like, oh, you hate the system, hate the capitalism and all these things. And perhaps I never really lean onto one whole group. I just try to look at like, can't we just look at the fruit of the matter? Like when we think about the fruits of the spirit, if I focus on the fruits of the spirit versus focusing on all the things that could be wrong, everything gets captured, everything gets covered if I decide to work on the fruits of the spirit. What are the fruits of the spirit? If I practice those things, everything else gets covered. But I want to leave you all with this. If you're still here, please click on the like button because y'all, like, how did you stay this long? I be talking. I be talking, so you must have liked it. I think I'm getting better at making sense and putting my videos together in a way where my mind isn't going. Okay, so if you made it this far, like, stop playing. Click on the like button. I don't even think you should subscribe. I'm not looking for subscribers. I'm looking for people who are going to help push a different perspective through the algorithm for sure, which might be through a like button. But I'm not looking for subscribers because it makes me think about what he said here of like how we have to subscribe to everything and there's no money here. There's not like, $1. This is the thing that we love about YouTube is that it's free to subscribe. But I don't even want you to subscribe to my thoughts. This experience, a Dare Creator experience with Daniela, I'm Daniela, is about us doing this together, us thinking together, us practicing together. Subscribe to journaling for yourself. Subscribe to investigating, informing questions about your everyday experiences and your everyday responses. I'm going to close this video out with a yay or nay game. This is my opportunity to share with you all some scriptures I think relates to the content I share with you all. And then in your own world, say yay or nay to it. And then also figure out what your yays are.
A lot of fear around AI and money comes down to belief. What we think we need, what we think we'll lose, what we think defines our worth. This verse comes to mind. Money answereth all things. Do we really believe that money holds the answer? And if so, what does that say about how we live? The verses I'm about to share are ones I've been sitting with. Each one invites reflection. These aren't just verses to agree with, they're invitations to slow down and ask questions. So here's how we'll do it. I'll read the verse, I'll share how I'll see it, then it's your turn. Yay or nay? What does your heart say? Luke 16, verse 9. Make to yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, that when you fail, they may receive you into everlasting habitations. This verse has layers. There's more to question around it, but it's not a command to worship money. It's a lesson in wisdom. Use what exists to build something that lasts. Handle the system with strategy, not servitude. Yay or nay? Can money be handled with spiritual awareness, or does using it always pull you into compromise? Proverbs chapter 11, verse 25. The liberal soul shall be made fat. He that watereth shall be watered also himself. This one reminds me to stay generous, to pour into others without fear of running out. It's a different way to think about gain. Yay or nay? Have you seen generosity multiply in your life? Or do you feel like giving sets you back? Philippians chapter 4, verse 12. I know how to be abased and I know how to abound. This is about stability. Whether you're up or down, who you are doesn't change. That mindset is rare in a world where so much value is tied to performance or pay. Yay or nay? If the structure of your life shifted, would your sense of peace stay the same? 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 17. Charge them that are rich, that they be not high-minded, nor trust in uncertain riches. Everything in this world can collapse. Wealth, jobs, platforms. But this verse reminds us what doesn't. The challenge is to stay grounded even when success comes. Yay or nay? Does this verse keep your confidence steady, or does it feel like it pulls your focus away from growth? Proverbs chapter 22, verse 7. The borrower is servant to the lender. This one gets uncomfortable because it's real. Whether it's a loan or a lifestyle, anything you owe creates weight. The verse asks, are you moving from freedom or obligation? Yay or nay? What would freedom look like for you? Are you making choices that bring more of it? These verses have helped me rethink how I see money, work, tools like AI, and even my own ambition. You don't have to agree with them all. You don't even have to understand them fully the first time. But they're worth sitting with, worth studying, worth asking, what does this open up in me? These scriptures are part of my journey to make sense of things that used to make me feel powerless. I welcome your thoughts in the comments. Where can you challenge your patterns of thinking? What could happen if you search for what makes your heart glad, even in heaviness? And when you start focusing on what's good, what shifts? Let that be the real test.
All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that game. Until next time, hold on to you as much as you can. Hold on to your health, your well-being, and your mind. Be mindful. Bye.
Breathe.